The Psychology of Power, The Hidden Rules of Business and Wealth. Here, a most timeless chapter, which will be help in your life. Chapter 1. The Invisible Game. In every boardroom, marketplace, and digital empire, a silent game unfolds. You don't see it, you feel it, in how people speak, who commands attention, and whose ideas quietly take control. Most people believe success comes from skill, luck, or timing. They're half right. Those things matter, but they are tools, not causes. The real force behind power is psychology, the unspoken rules that decide who rises and who follows. The world of business, leadership, and influence is not ruled by spreadsheets or strategies alone. It's ruled by perception, how people see you, feel about you, and respond to you. Two people can offer the same idea, yet one is ignored while the other is applauded. That's not logic, that's psychology. It's the invisible game being played in every meeting, every negotiation, every social interaction that decides where power flows. You can have the best product, the best idea, or even the best heart, but if you don't understand the human mind, you will always work for someone who does. The powerful understand one truth. People don't just buy things, they buy emotions, certainty, and identity. They follow confidence more than competence. They respond to presence more than perfection. That's the invisible game. Imagine two entrepreneurs entering the same room. One speaks facts and logic, the other speaks vision and emotion. Logic convinces the mind, but emotion moves the decision. The second one wins, not because they're smarter, but because they know how people work. The first rule of power is awareness. You must learn to see what others overlook, the glances, the tone shifts, the body language that reveals who's leading and who's following. When you walk into a room, observe who people look at when they talk, who they wait to react before speaking, and who never needs to explain themselves twice. That's where power lives. Control begins in the mind long before it reaches the market. Before any company grows, its founder believes. Before any investor funds, they feel trust. Before any employee follows, they sense strength. That inner belief, that invisible posture, is what shapes the outer world. So, the first step to mastering the psychology of power isn't to chase success, it's to see the game that's already being played around you. Every person you meet is negotiating status, respect, and control, subtly, silently. Most don't realize they're doing it. The moment you become aware of this hidden dynamic, the world begins to look different. You'll notice patterns others don't. You'll stop reacting and start predicting. You'll understand that power isn't given, it's recognized. To play the invisible game, train your perception. Watch more than you speak. Study how others behave when they think no one's watching. Power hides in human behavior, and psychology is the language it speaks. Once you master this awareness, you'll no longer move blindly in business or life. You'll move intentionally, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to lead, and when to let others think they are leading. That is how influence begins. That is how power moves, quietly, invisibly, and always through those who understand the mind before they move the market.
Chapter 2. The Law of Self-Mastery, Expanded Version. Before you rule a business, you must rule yourself. Every empire begins within. The greatest companies, nations, and legacies in history all share one secret. Their founders first conquered their own chaos. People chase control over markets, over teams, over circumstances. Yet most never realize the most important territory they will ever conquer is their own mind. The real battlefield is not out there, it's inside you. The person who can master their emotions, habits, and impulses becomes a force no economy can shake. Because economies rise and fall, markets crash, people change, but self-mastery, that's stability. That's power that cannot be taken away. Every downfall in business can be traced back to a failure of self-control, a leader who gets too emotional, an entrepreneur who loses patience, an investor driven by greed or fear instead of logic. In every case, the enemy wasn't outside, it was within. Discipline is wealth's oldest currency. Before there were banks or digital wallets, there was discipline. It is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when your feelings disagree. Most people depend on motivation. The powerful depend on systems. Motivation fades, systems don't. They build routines that protect them from their weaker moments. They schedule their focus, guard their energy, and design their environment to make discipline automatic. The powerful are not born disciplined, they design discipline. They remove temptation instead of relying on willpower. They understand that success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing the right things repeatedly, even when it's boring. Power favors those who can delay gratification while the weak chase dopamine. Every notification, every distraction, every quick hit of pleasure, these are traps designed to enslave your attention. And the tension, in the modern world, is your most valuable asset. The one who can control their attention controls their direction. Because what you focus on grows. What you ignore dies. Look at any self-made billionaire or visionary. They have one thing in common, an almost ruthless control over their inner world. They don't react, they respond. They don't seek approval, they pursue clarity. They are not controlled by fear or excitement. They use both as tools, never as masters. Self-mastery begins with awareness. Notice what triggers you. Notice what drains your focus. Notice where you lose time and energy. Once you see your patterns, you can rewrite them. Change doesn't happen by force, it happens by understanding. When you build mastery over your mind, you become unshakable, calm when others panic, patient when others rush, focused when others scatter. And that calm confidence creates power that people feel. Power isn't loud, it's collected. It's the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you are in control, not of the world, but of yourself. Before you scale your business, scale your discipline. Before you lead others, learn to lead your emotions. Before you seek power, earn it. By mastering the one person who can destroy or define you, yourself. That is the law of self-mastery. Rule your mind, and the world will eventually follow.
Chapter 3. The Currency of Perception. Money follows perception, not production. What people believe about you often matters more than what you truly are. We like to imagine the world rewards merits, that the best idea or the hardest worker always wins. The truth is harsher and more useful. The world rewards perception. People don't see reality, they see their version of it, and that version is shaped by how you present yourself. In business, value is not absolute, it's assigned. A product is worth what people believe it's worth. A leader is respected not for what they know, but for how confidently they project what they know. Perception is the invisible currency that decides who gets opportunity, attention, and trust. Think of brands like Apple, or Tesla. Their power doesn't come only from technology. It comes from the story around it. Innovation, rebellion, mastery. People buy the idea as much as the item. The same rule applies to individuals. Your name is your brand. Your reputation is your stock price. Every word, gesture, and result either raises or lowers its value. So you must build a story around your name, a story others want to believe. Humans think in narratives, not numbers. If your story is clear, people will fill in your flaws with their imagination. If your story is weak, they'll doubt even your strengths. Influence is built on crafted appearances and consistent performance. Crafted appearances don't mean faking who you are. They mean presenting your truth strategically. Show people what supports your identity and vision. Hide what confuses it. Every public move you make either adds to your myth or weakens it. The most powerful people are storytellers who turn their reputation into capital. They understand that in every room, people are silently asking 3 questions. Can I trust you? Can you lead me? Can you make me feel something? If your presence answers those questions before you even speak, you've already won half the battle. Perception shapes power because emotion shapes perception. Logic convinces, emotion converts. People follow certainty. They are drawn to those who seem to know. The confident tone, the composed posture, the steady rhythm of speech, these are psychological cues that trigger trust. It's not manipulation, it's communication at a higher level. If you want your ideas to spread, you must package them in emotion, not just evidence. Reputation is not built overnight. It's built through consistency. Do what you say you will do. Deliver results quietly and regularly. Over time, people begin to associate your name with reliability, and that trust becomes compound interest. When others perceive you as capable, doors open before you knock, investors return calls faster, clients stop negotiating price and start buying presence. That's the power of perception. It makes the world bend toward you. Remember, you can be the best in your field and still be invisible if no one knows your story. And you can be average yet unstoppable if your perception is magnetic. The choice is simple. You can wait for people to see your worth, or you can design how they see it. When you master perception, you no longer chase money. Money chases you. That is the currency of perception. Invisible, psychological, but more powerful than gold.
Chapter 4. The Psychology of Fear and Respect. Expanded version. In business, everyone wants to be liked, until they realize being liked is overrated. Respect creates stability. Fear ensures compliance. Most people enter the world of leadership thinking popularity is power. They want to be everyone's friend, to be seen as approachable and kind. But the longer you stay in the game, the clearer the truth becomes. Being liked and being respected are not the same thing. Being liked is emotional. Being respected is psychological. People like those who make them feel good. They respect those who make them better. Respect comes from strength, not aggression, but certainty. When you have conviction in your standards, people sense it. They might not always agree with you, but they'll trust you. Fear, when used correctly, reinforces that trust by setting boundaries. The great leaders of history knew how to balance both without cruelty. They were neither tyrants nor pushovers. Take a moment and think of the figures who built lasting legacies. Military commanders, CEOs, founders, reformers. They understood one thing: power demands polarity. You must be calm yet intimidating,
kind yet untouchable. They projected warmth without weakness and firmness without arrogance. When people stood before them, they felt safe but alert. That's the perfect psychological balance. Leadership is emotional architecture. You are building how others feel in your presence. If they feel only comfort, they'll take advantage of it. If they feel only fear, they'll rebel against it. But if they feel both, safety and tension, you earn a rare form of loyalty, respect that lasts even when you're not around. Never let familiarity weaken authority. This is one of the hardest lessons for new leaders. When you rise in business, the people around you will test your boundaries, not always intentionally, but subconsciously. The more comfortable they feel, the more they push. If you want to be taken seriously, you must learn to draw invisible lines.
Be friendly, not familiar. Familiarity breeds comfort. Comfort erodes caution. And when caution disappears, respect follows. Respect doesn't mean distance. It means distinction. People must feel that your time, energy, and words carry weight. When you say little, they'll listen more. When you set limits, they'll push less. Fear, in its healthy form, is simply the awareness of consequence. It's not about threats or intimidation. It's about presence, the kind of presence that makes people think twice before disappointing you. The moment others believe your standards are flexible, they stop taking them seriously. The moment they sense that your approval can be bought with flattery, your influence begins to fade. True power is quiet control, knowing you could dominate, but choosing instead to direct with purpose. You create a psychological field where your calm commands attention, your silence creates tension, and your approval becomes rare enough to be valued. Every effective leader learns this balance. Too much fear and people freeze. Too much kindness and people drift. The sweet spot is composed strength, where your very presence communicates, "I will support you, but I will not be disrespected." Respect builds loyalty. Fear enforces order. Used together, they form a structure strong enough to carry empires. So if you wish to lead in business, in teams, in life, stop chasing likes. Chase respect. It lasts longer, cuts deeper, and attracts followers who don't just admire you, they trust you.
Chapter 5. Strategic Empathy. To win in business, you must understand human nature, not judge it. Every person you meet is driven by ego, insecurity, and desire. Study their motives, not their words. Empathy is not softness, it's strategy. The one who understands others deeper than they understand themselves can predict and therefore control their behavior. Empathy is often misunderstood. People hear the word and think it means kindness or emotional warmth. In truth, empathy is intelligence, the rare ability to see the engine beneath the surface of others. Every human being runs on a mixture of pride, fear, and longing. Some crave recognition, some security, some control. When you know what drives someone, you don't need to argue or force, you simply guide them where their own desires already want to go. This is the essence of influence, understanding motives before you move people. In business, most fail because they sell products, not feelings. They pitch features instead of emotions. They try to convince instead of connect. But if you can feel what others fear, need, and crave, you can speak in a language that pierces logic and reaches instinct.
Empathy gives you leverage in every conversation.
It allows you to sense tension before it breaks, opportunity before it's announced, betrayal before it's revealed. The unaware react, the empathetic predict. Empathy is not softness, it's strategy. You're not absorbing people's emotions to comfort them, you're studying them to understand patterns. The strong use empathy like a radar, scanning for needs, insecurities, and ambitions. They listen more than they talk, not because they are shy, but because information is power. When you understand others deeper than they understand themselves, you can predict and therefore control their behavior. That doesn't mean manipulation, it means mastery. You can guide investors with confidence, customers with trust, and teams with clarity. You become the emotional compass that others unconsciously follow. In business psychology, empathy is the ultimate competitive advantage. It transforms communication into connection, and connection into influence. The one who knows people best wins. That is strategic empathy, the quiet art of turning emotional awareness into practical power.
Chapter 6. The Law of Leverage. Expanded version. The weak work harder. The strong work smarter. Power is not about effort, it's about position. Leverage comes from systems, networks, and ownership. Build assets that move without you. True wealth is measured by how little your presence is required for your empire to grow. Leverage is the difference between labor and leadership. Most people are trapped in effort. They trade time for money, motion for meaning. They think hard work is the answer. It's not. Hard work is the starting line. Leverage is the finish. Power is not measured by how much you can do, but by how much you can cause to be done. Leverage multiplies your output without multiplying your hours. There are three main forms of leverage: systems, networks, and ownership. Systems are your invisible workers. These are the processes, automations, and habits that function even when you're asleep. Every strong empire is built on systems that remove friction and make success repeatable. Networks are human leverage, people who amplify your reach. One well-placed ally can open doors that decades of solo effort never could. Your reputation, relationships, and collaborations are multipliers that turn personal power into collective force.
Ownership is financial leverage. When you own assets, companies, real estate, intellectual property, equity, your wealth grows independent of your time. That's the point where your money begins to work harder than you ever could. The weak believe effort is virtue. The strong understand effort is only valuable when it creates momentum without you. Leverage is not laziness, it's efficiency at the highest level. It's building ladders instead of climbing walls. If you spend every day fighting fires in your business, you don't have a business, you have a job. If you must always be present for things to function, you're not leading, you're maintaining. True wealth is measured by how little your presence is required for your empire to grow. Your systems should produce without your supervision. Your people should perform without your prompting. Your capital should expand while you rest. That's not fantasy, it's the natural result of strategic thinking. Every hour you invest should aim to reduce your dependency, not increase it. So build structures that free you. Automate what you can, delegate what you should, own what you believe in. When you create leverage, your life shifts from effort to direction, from pushing to guiding. And in that moment, you stop working in your empire and start ruling over it. That is the law of leverage, the art of multiplying your impact while conserving your energy. That is strategic empathy, the quiet art of turning emotional awareness into practical power. Chapter 7. The Art of Silence. Silence is not weakness, it's a weapon. The powerful speak less and observe more. Every unnecessary word leaks information and power. When you learn to be comfortable with silence, others rush to fill it, and in their words, you find their weaknesses. Speak rarely. When you do, let your words strike like a hammer. In a world that never stops talking, silence becomes a signal of strength. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront uncertainty. They fill it with nervous chatter, explanations, and justifications, each word revealing more than they realize. The powerful understand this. They use silence as a mirror, letting others expose themselves. In negotiation, silence makes people reveal their limits. In leadership, silence commands attention. In conflict, silence confuses those who expect reaction. Every unnecessary word is a leak of control. The moment you over-explain, you surrender authority. When you speak rarely, your words gain weight. People listen differently, not because of what you say, but because of what you withhold. To master silence, you must become comfortable with stillness. You must train your face, your tone, your body to stay neutral when others provoke you. That calmness becomes intimidation. It makes others wonder what you know that they don't. Silence is not emptiness, it's pressure. It creates space where truth rises to the surface. When people fill that space, they give you the map to their fears, motives, and intentions. Speak only when your words can shift the room. Every sentence should serve a purpose, to lead, to clarify, or to end confusion. Powerful communication is not about volume, it's about timing. When you do speak, let your words be deliberate, steady, and final, like a hammer striking once cleanly. In the psychology of power, silence is not passive, it's strategic restraint. And restraint in a world of noise is dominance.
Conclusion. Mastering the invisible game. The psychology of power, the hidden rules of business and wealth, teaches us that true success is not built on luck, effort, or even talent alone. It is built on understanding people, mastering yourself, and strategically navigating the invisible rules that govern influence and wealth. From awareness in the invisible game to self-mastery, perception, empathy, and leverage, each chapter shows that power is psychological first and practical second. It is earned by those who can delay gratification, think ahead, and act with purpose. Silence, contrast, and controlled presence create influence. Systems, ownership, and networks create wealth, and a mindset of creation over consumption sustains it. Ultimately, power is not about domination. It is about designing a life, a business, and a legacy that outlives you. Respect, influence, and strategic thinking allow you to move people and markets with authority. Legacy ensures that your impact continues long after your presence fades. The central lesson is simple. Master yourself, understand others, and use knowledge strategically. When these principles are applied consistently, wealth, influence, and lasting impact follow naturally. Power is not given, it is perceived, earned, and wisely preserved.